Hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 26 of 30 days of real estate content, real estate education here in Nigeria. It has been a very great honor and privilege to have you with me over the last 25 days plus, and I continue in the series sharing valuable content with you here about real estate in Nigeria. It's very important that you have knowledge about whatever you're doing. The more you know, the better your chances of success. I've been repeating the same thing almost every day as regards the fact that the more you know, the better the chances of your success. Understanding of any sector or business you want to go into or any investment you want to go into is having deep is setting up yourself for success in that sector. The more you know, the higher your chances of success. And for me, I've chosen real estate, and it's a sector I'm so passionate about. I've been in the sector now for about 4 years, And what I'm doing is educating people who want to go into the sector. Real estate affects everybody in one way or the other. Yes, real estate affects everybody in one way or the other. It's one of the basic needs of man. If you remember quite back in your primary school years when we were taught what are the basic needs of man, we're told food, shelter, clothing. So you cannot do without any of these three. Can't do without food or shelter or clothing. You're living somewhere, right? You're working somewhere. Even if you're working from home, you're still working from a residential place. So real estate is very important. Real estate has existed from the time the world was created up to date, and it will keep existing. So it's one thing that is not moved by fads. It's one thing that's not moved by those traditions come and go. No. Real estate is real. You can see it, you can touch it, and it will always be there. So understanding it is a recipe for success, especially if you want to invest in real estate. And I've been discussing on different aspects of real estate. There's different ways you can make money or invest in real estate, and they are here on my Facebook page over the last 25 days. You can also go on my YouTube page, to get it at John Olisa. I've spoken so much about it, so just watch, like, comment, and share. And in today's Facebook Live, quickly, I'm going to be finishing the series I started yesterday on the Land Use Act. I spoke so much yesterday about it, and I was doing like a section by section summary of the 52-part Land Use Act. But the key takeaways is that the Land Use Act is the primary legislation regulating real estate in Nigeria. The primary legislation regulating real estate in Nigeria, and we have rights. I said that when you get land, you do no longer own land in perpetuity. The governor is the holder of land in trust for Nigerians, and when you get a portion of land, you get a right of occupancy. And in the C of O you are given, it's usually a maximum of 99 years. Some give 50 years, some give 25 years. So you have a right of occupancy over the land. It's not a freehold. It's not something that you own in perpetuity. So it's very, and I also talked about the fact that you need to be at least 21 years before you can own land in Nigeria. If you're not to that age, you need to get a guardian and or a trustee to hold it on your behalf. So there's so much I shared about it, and I will not want to go over it again. And I just said lastly that the consent of the governor is needed for any transaction on real estate. So from assignment to transfer to mortgage, the consent of the governor is needed. And the idea behind this is that so that the government has it in their record that ownership of land is moving from one person to the other. All right, I'll continue today from section 27, and I'll be picking on some of them that you need to know. You need to know that the government can revoke your land, like the allocation of land they gave to you. The government can revoke it based on public interest. So public interest, then breach of conditions. I stated that in a C of O or R of O you are given. In the document, you are going to see conditions, terms and conditions written in it, such as payment of ground rent, such as the time to develop, and the like. Are usually conditions that are stated, and your failure to abide by this condition can lead to the revocation of it. So if you're getting any land, it's best to abide by the conditions and terms stated in it, so that you don't have a situation where your land is revoked. Another ground for revocation is government projects. So when there's expansion of roads, there is laying of pipelines. These are legal ground that upon which the government can revoke a land that has been allocated to you. But you need to know also that when you are within your right, it's not like you breached any provision of your right of occupancy or certificate of occupancy right. The government has a duty to pay compensation, and they pay compensation basically for three things. They pay compensation for buildings, for crops, and for any improvement you've made on the land. So maybe you've already built blocks of flats, duplexes, the government will value it and pay you back. If it's for crops, remember I said yesterday that the local government also allocates land, and for agricultural purposes, they can give a maximum of 500 hectares, while for grazing purposes, they can give a maximum of 5,000 hectares. So if it's for, you have crops you're farming, the government will compensate you for it. And if you've made improvements to the land generally, you fence the land, or whatever constitutes improvement to the land, the government is going to compensate you for it. You also need to know that there's some dispute over land. Before I go to the court, but there's some dispute over land that can be handled or resolved by the land use committee or land use committee. I also talk about the fact that the government can revoke land. Now, the fact that the government revokes your land does not exculpate you of liability that you have over the land. So let's say there's outstanding ground rent or any liability you've incurred in the past over the land. The revocation of the land does not exculpate you of such liability. You still have to clear those liability. If your revocation is done on a right ground, maybe government project, one of the things the government can do aside compensation is resettlement. Resettlement. So it's not every time that compensation will be the best. It has happened here in Abuja where some indigenes, because the government wants to do a project in a certain place, they revoke their right. What they now do is resettlement. They resettle them in another place. That's why we have the name of places in Abuja called Apo Resettlement. So that area of Apo is a resettlement axis, resettlement land for indigenes of Abuja that were moved from some places to that place. So there's a part of compensation that comes, especially by resettlement. It's an alternative land that is given instead of money. Then, as I said yesterday, before the Land Use Act came into operation, people already own land under our various laws, the land tenure law and the likes. So with the coming in of the Land Use Act, what the law says is that existing owners of land, even though their rights have been extinguished under the former laws in place, but they automatically become holders of rights of occupancy under the Land Use Act. Yes, so they automatically become owners of land under the Land Use Act. So you need to know that. And you need to know that even though they are owners of land, the government still has the right to revoke some part, right? Where there's excess land they have, which has not been. So you need to be aware that the government can revoke old land that owners of land have not used. Old land that owners of land have not used. So old land can still be revoked. As regards settlement of dispute, resolution of dispute in relation to land, the major court that is responsible for that is the High Court, of a state. That is for lands under urban land under the governor. But if it's local land under non-urban land under allocated by the local government, it is the customary court that is the primary dispute resolution body, right? And you also need to know that in resolution of dispute, the government has the right to sue landowners that have allocated land for unpaid rent. Unpaid rent. Remember, ground rent is a rent that you, as someone who has been allocated land, has to pay. So the government can sue you for unpaid rent. And there's something that's called illegal use of land. So for instance, you build without title is an offense. You just go on a land and you do not have title to it. You build without title. It's an offense. And now we also need to know, remember I said the governor has the right to grant consent on transfer of land from one owner to the other. Many times, because of the volume of the work on the governor, he may not have the time to personally do it. So the law permits the governor to transfer the power, to delegate the power, right? Yeah, not transfer. Delegate the power of granting consent to other government officials. So you need to know that. All right. I need to know that all our formal laws in relation to land administration in Nigeria must align with the Land Use Act. And you need to know that past allocations of land before coming into force of the Land Use Act remain valid. Past allocation of land before coming into law of the Land Use Act remain valid. So let me just round up with this on the Land Use Act. You need to know that nobody owns land absolutely or in perpetuity. You don't own land like it was in the olden days where you have freehold. You own land in perpetuity for generation to generation. What you own in a land is right of occupancy, a right to use land for a period of time, subject to terms and conditions that might be outlined by the governor. And remember, C of O is not ownership, it's just right of ownership. And you need to know that every transfer, every transaction on the land needs to get the consent of the governor. And very important, you have such. And then the government can take your land and use it based on grounds of breach of the terms, on grounds of government projects, also on grounds of public interest. But on some of these grounds, you are expected to get compensation. But at sometimes that compensation is not sufficient. The government can now give you alternative land. So it's very important that you know this. It's very important that you know this. The land administration system in Nigeria is regulated by law, and the more you know about it, the higher the likelihood of your success. Every land transaction you want to get involved in, engage a lawyer. It's very important. The lawyer knows the nooks and crannies, the ins and outs of the law in Nigeria, and they are very suited to help you to do it. They are very suited to help you to navigate through it successfully. The more you know, the higher the likelihood of your success. So thank you so very much for joining me in today's live where we've talked about the concluding part of the Land Use Act. There's so much that has been said, and I've just broken it down for you in tidbits so that you can utilize, and effectively maneuver and navigate your way in the real estate space in Nigeria. My name is John Olisa, and I'm the CEO of Red Diamond Properties Limited. We're a property development company, and recently we launched our first estate in Kochiyako Extension, Kuje, where there are service plots where you build according to the pre-approved plan. And our consideration is that on a 200 square meter land way from 1.5 million, you will build a 3-bedroom terrace duplex. On a 300 square meter land go for 2.2 million. You can build a 4-bedroom semi-detached duplex. While with a 400 square meter land going for 3 million, you can build a 5-bedroom fully detached duplex. Furthermore, with a 1,000 square meter land going for 7 million, you can build a block of flat, 7 units block of flat, consisting of 2 units each of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments. So you can contact us for more information on +234 813 799 0792. +234 813 799 0792. You can also send an email to us at reddiamondproperties10@gmail.com. reddiamondproperties10@gmail.com. So thank you so very much for joining us in today's live, and I appreciate you for joining us in today's live, where we have shared so much on real estate in Nigeria, especially as it relates to the law of real estate in Nigeria. You can watch this video here on my Facebook page. You can also watch it, most importantly, on my YouTube page, John Olisa. You can watch on my YouTube page, John Olisa. Thank you so very much for joining me, and I wish you a wonderful and great day. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow on day 27 of real estate content, real estate education in Nigeria. Thank you so very much, and have a wonderful day. Bye.